Hi, today we are going to be creating a look with the Colourpop Lost in Love for the first time while I share a crazy love story with you in today's Chatty Get Ready With Me. So if you're interested in hearing all about that and seeing the makeup look that I create today, then stick around, we're getting into it now. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video, which is just going to be a bit of a love story Chatty Get Ready With Me, like a love story time. How do you even call that? Like a romantic story, Chatty Get Ready With Me. That's what it is. Today's video is going to be a romantic story, Chatty Get Ready With Me. I am not going to focus too much on the makeup until I get to the eyeshadow palette, which is going to be my first time to play with the Colourpop Lost in Love palette, and it matches my sweater of the day. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just get started. But I wanna tell you about a real life love story, a true lifelong love story. And I want you, hold on, let me try to get this hair back out of my way. Oh my gosh. I want you to try to reserve judgment until you've heard the whole story, okay? Because I want to know if you would have done the same thing, okay? If you would have done the same thing to save your relationship. Okay. So I just started off with my under makeup moisturizer. I do already have my, where is it? I do already have my First Aid Beauty lip balm on. I don't even know where I saw that. And I'm gonna take my jewelry off. I need to get my lotion, my hand lotion. That's what I'm missing. I'll be right back. So I just went to go get my hand lotion. And this is the lip balm that I already have on my lips. Roll up my sleeves. I like putting my makeup on in a short sleeve t-shirt. I don't normally like starting off with whatever it is that I'm going to be wearing for the day, but I'm trying new things. Anyway, okay. So now that all of the like preliminary layer has been applied. All right. And I'm actually doing my makeup a little bit different today than I normally do. I'm not using foundation, and I'm not using foundation today. I'm just gonna use concealer kind of all over and that kind of a thing. So I'm just gonna do things a little different for the day. Pull my makeup close. Ooh, I almost started off with my concealer and I forgot to start with bronzer. Anyway, I mean, primer. Having a rough go of it, guys. And I fear it's only gonna get worse. I fear it's only gonna get worse before it gets better. So try to bear with me if you can. At least maybe it'll be a source for entertainment for you, some laughs. Wow, I've used a lot of this. Okay, so I'm just trying to get this used up before I open up my newest primer and try that I got as a gift with purchase. I purchased a huge skincare set for me and my son to share and use because it's like a two-parter, like a little travel set and then the full size. And I got the primer as a gift with purchase. Okay, anyway. Before I go in and start using that primer, I want to finish up either this one or my new Cali Ray one. And so I'm just trying to get some use of my products. I'm going to start tracking all of my makeup empties for the year because this is the year that I'm going to truck through. I mean, I did track my makeup empties for last year, but I didn't like report it or share it with you or anything. Last year was really rough. And again, I fear that this year is only going to get more difficult in the weeks to come, days and weeks to come. That's fine. I'm a tough one, so I'll get through it. Anyway, all right. I'm going to just start off with a little bit of concealer under the eyes and let that sit for a minute. And so the reason why I'm using concealer all over my face today instead of just going in with one of my foundations that I love so much is because I'm just trying to get use out of my products. I want to like use up some of my products before they go bad. So anyways, today I'm going to be doing my Say concealer kind of like as my base and see how that goes. Okay, and I feel like under the eyes is a little bit darker, so maybe I could have done something a little better with that. I was planning on using this side. I'm going to. Yeah, so, okay, I knew this couple. I'm not gonna, I know, new. But anyway, okay, so a little bit of backstory. I didn't grow up with a lot of good examples of marriage and relationships around me, okay? I knew one couple that was together for the long haul, and thankfully I did live with them. So I was able to like see the relationship really up close. I mean, as much as you can without actually being privy to what's happening in their relationship. Even though you live with someone doesn't mean you know everything that's going on with them. You know what I mean? Anyway, so, and that's my grandparents. My grandparents were married till death do them part, and they were married like 60 something years before my grandpa passed away. Anyway, so this other couple is another couple that I knew that they met. I don't want to tell you what my connection to them was and how I know them, because I don't want to identify who they are in my life to anybody that might know my channel or have come across it that is in my actual real life. Like, I don't want anybody to know who it is I'm referring to here, because I'm going to share some pretty personal and private details that I wasn't ever given permission to share, and it's not my place to talk about because it's not my business. So, but it is a love story, and you know, something that when I heard about it, it has stuck with me all of these years later, and something that I've never forgotten, that I've thought about a lot, and that yeah, I go back and forth each time that I think about it as to which side of the coin I land on with it. So I would love to hear how you would have handled this situation if you were the one in the position. So let me go ahead and get started with the story. So there's this couple, and I'm going to take you back to the very beginning, okay? Both of them came from, you know, first of all, let me back it up. They were raised in the country, like in rural Texas, and they were from small towns, not just like larger country towns. And they met in junior high. Okay, so it was junior high school, and I don't know how education is broken down in other states or other parts of the world, but here in Texas, junior high meant like 6th to 8th grade. Okay, so they met like, I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was like maybe 7th grade, 7th or 8th grade is when they, you know, met and first fell in love. And so, you know, as you can imagine, getting with someone at that age means that the two of y'all are going to go through a lot of personal changes, not only in how your life progresses, because a lot can happen over the years. A lot does happen over the years in people's lives, and it oftentimes changes the course of how things would have played out otherwise, okay? And so my point is They met in junior high. They fell in love. They were together through high school, despite... Did I pick a powder? That was what I forgot. I forgot to get a powder. Hold on. Okay. Despite the dating headaches that you go through, the bumps in the road and stuff that you go through when you first start dating, okay, as far as like from a personal standpoint, not you dealing with the person that you are dating. So when you as an individual first start off dating, you know, you're really clueless about it. And it takes going through several different kinds of, I'm just going to set with my Huda Beauty, several different kinds of relationships and stuff usually before, you know, you like grow and learn about yourself as a person and what you want and what matters to you and who you are and what you're looking for in a partner. And what you're looking for in a partner can change from one year to the next, not necessarily from one year to the next, but like over the course of years, you know, like you can just change your mind about a lot of these things. And so it's really hard for a couple to stay together from junior high all through high school. And this couple did. They had their difficulties, okay, as far as like sometimes the husband had a little bit of a, I mean, he was a boyfriend at the time. Sometimes the boyfriend had a bit of a roaming eye. And sometimes more than just the eye would roam. And, you know, so okay, let me give these people names. So I'm going to call this woman, Nancy. Okay, let's call her Nancy. And I'm going to call the guy Joe. Okay, so it's Nancy and Joe. All right. So sometimes Joe had a tendency to have a bit of a wandering eye at times. They don't like me having my makeup room and, you know, outside of where I used to be, because where I was before, they had their couch that they got to sit right next to me. But also, like, you could hear my dogs snoring and, like, sometimes grooming themselves, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, back to my crazy love story, okay? So as guys go from junior high to high school to then their 20s and beyond, you know, sometimes what they're looking for or what they think they want can change. Okay. And so obviously, if there's a particular woman that's trying to hang on to this boy through all these decades, she's going to encounter a little bit of difficulty probably if he's not immediately of the mindset of getting married, right? But if she wants to hang on for the ride and hope to end up becoming his wife, there's gonna be some bumps in the road. And oh my God, I got makeup all in my gray hairs. So now my gray hairs are all colored and they look like an extension of my face. That's not good. I should have brought my head wrap in here. That's what I forgot to put in here, and I should have put that on so I could keep makeup out of my hair. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna continue. You know, what I mean by bumps in the road is other people that might get involved within the relationship, like actually involved. Like we're talking, it goes into a bit of a love triangle for a moment or two throughout the course of time, right? I mean, like that does tend to happen. And some women will just straight up leave the guy if he ends up trying to show interest in another woman. And I mean, you know, I'm not here to debate what's right and what's wrong. I'm just simply trying to get to, wait, did I pull a blush out? Oh, I forgot a blush, hold on. Today would be a good time. Today's a good day to use my Pat McGrath blush palette. So I'm gonna do this blush. Anyway, you know, some women would leave when he starts to show interest in another woman or whatever, but some women are going to fight for their man, okay? Some women have already decided that he's claimed, whether he might be aware of it yet or not, okay? And I'm not here to discuss or judge, you know, that kind of an approach. I'm simply just saying she didn't leave the picture. What was her name that I gave her? Nancy didn't leave the picture when Joe started kind of having a bit of a roaming existence, let's just say, okay? She was hanging on for the ride because she wanted to become his wife eventually. So, you know, they were still young, way too young to be talking about marriage yet. So she was just trying to hang on and keep trucking, right? Okay, and so one thing leads to another, and let's just put it nicely, they end up very, very young parents. I'm talking not even high school age parents, okay, like early high school. And this was back in the time when teenagers might have accidentally started living life like grown-ups, getting pregnant and such. Sometimes they would fall out of school, so to speak, and they would stop going to school. Now, in today's time, things have been put into place to provide like alternative school for mothers, young expecting mothers that need to still finish their education, okay? Instead of them giving up school and dropping out, now there's alternative school is what I believe it's called. That's what it was called when I was in school, but you know, this was a generation before me. And so anyway, this is probably what made alternative schools come about to begin with, you know? So not only the kids that would get into in-school suspension or whatever, or expelled, would go to these alternative schools, but also like young expecting students. And so anyway, they dropped out of high school. I think they actually dropped out of junior high. They never actually made it to high school, I believe, if I remember the story correctly. If I remember hold on, I got a hair stuck to me. If I remember the history correctly. But I'm not even sure what made him start this kind of a business. And I'm not going to go into what kind of a business it was because I don't want to give away based off of the skill set that he had. I don't want to give away who it is that I'm talking about to anybody else that might know these people, that might know my channel or whatever. So anyway, he started a business while he was still very, very young, okay? And he built this business from the ground up. He worked very, very hard, okay? Early morning hours, late night evenings, long, hard, laborious days, okay? Where there were late night hours involved, and after work, he was physically exhausted, you know, like literally physically spent. And so he built this business from the ground up, and time just starts trucking by, okay? The years pass, the family, they grow their family more and more. They have a couple of more children over the years. But as this happens, and the business becomes more and more successful, they're making a lot of money. We're talking, they went from being of incredibly humble means, like not knowing where their meal was going to come from oftentimes, to fast forward a few short years later, they have purchased a home. That she doesn't work, she stays home with the children. He has multiple vehicles. He's now also got like the work vehicle. They have vacation home. They travel a lot. They've got an RV. They've got a deer lease place where he would hunt because, you know, that's what you do when you're a Texan. I don't really approve of hunting. I'm not going to say I condone it either. Like, I'm not going to say that I'm against it. I'm not for it either. I have mixed emotions, so I don't want to talk about that too much. But anyway, my point is, they have a lot of, what's it called? Like recreational toys. They spent their money on a lot of toys is what I'm saying, okay? She was always real humble, so she didn't really spend a lot of money, but he kind of went a bit crazy. Like straight up, he did. And, you know, he bought boats, he bought jet skis, he bought sports cars, he bought clothes, jewelry for himself. He bought jewelry for her, but she never wore it because she wasn't really about that flashiness, you know. She grew up like really, really humble means and in the country, and none of these things just really mattered to her. She wasn't the kind of woman to go and get her hair done. She didn't get her nails done, nor did she want to. She didn't want to wear jewelry. She didn't spend money on fancy clothes. She just wasn't that kind of a girl. And so he had a lot more money to spend. a lot, because he didn't have anybody else that was, you know, pulling from the pot, so to speak. And so he spent the money, and he spent a lot of it. Where's my brow brush? Hold on a second. I must have put it away in the brow thing. Hold on. To say that he went a little wild with the success is an understatement. Okay, now these people had like a really active church life and family life. You know, aside from the fact that they had a few kids of their own, they spent a lot of time with their family, like their extended family, you know, like holidays and weekends and just regular meals and stuff like that. So there was always a lot of activity going on in their lives, and she kept real busy volunteering and raising the children and, you know, being active at their schools and driving them to activities. Where she did spend money was on the children. You know, the children were real active. Like, you know, the girl did dance and stuff like that, and cheer, I think, if I remember correctly. And the boys did, well, there was only one boy for a long time. The boy did hunting and learned the father's trade from a really early age as well. All this to say, with her being so busy in life, sometimes, just sometimes, the husband was able to, let's just say, sneak away for a little bit too much playtime, okay? And it took a little while before the missus started to catch on. But she did, and she was trying to rein her man in. But, you know, he was making a lot of money, and she wasn't working. And, you know, a lot of men, when that happens, get to where they feel like they're superior, like their place in the partnership is more significant, like they have some sort of right to be considering themselves an authority over you or whatever. And so anyways, he was able to basically I mean, not able, but he felt entitled to just ignore her request to get his act together and to stop falling off the straight and narrow path of being committed to their relationship and their family and their marriage and their life, you know, and all of that, and their future and their present and their past. And so anyway, he wasn't settling back down, let's just say. He started getting real wild, real wild. And she didn't really know what to do. Wow, I've only used this a couple of times and it's already feeling like it's a little bit dry and gunky. Granted, has been a few weeks since I used it, but like I didn't expect it to change that much. Okay, I do like it on this side. Maybe it's just this brow that's a little bit iffy and that's why it looks bad. I know I should probably trim my brow hairs, but that's just not the life that I live, so no. I have this one little chunk of hair right there that just ain't right though. Anyway, she couldn't get him to go back to being the man that she knew and loved for decades of her life already with him. Well, had it been decades? I think by this point they had been together about 10 to 12 years. So the kids were already getting a little more grown, but they were still young-ish, you know? And she was trying to keep her family together. She was doing everything that she could think of to try to get her man to settle back down, okay? Where's this brush that I'm looking for? But he wasn't going for it. Okay, he felt entitled to run around on her, break her heart, and lie and pretend to the children like he's still being the exact same as he should be and how he's had been, okay? And so obviously she was at quite a loss of what to do, you know. Here's where I'm wondering, would you have left him? Would you have packed up all that you've ever known and had in your life and taken your children and left him because he was running around? Would you have filed for divorce? Or would you have done something along the lines of what she decided to do, which I'm about to get into? So once she had pretty much tried everything that she could think of to do to try and get him to get his act together, she did the only thing that she could think of to try next, okay? She remembered how he had been so wonderful and everything before all the money hit their bank accounts, okay? But once the money entered the picture, all hell broke loose. And as you recall me telling you, she was not the kind of woman that was into spending much money other than on the children. So to her, the money made zero difference other than all these negative differences that it had brought about in her life and the life of her family. So I don't know if you can tell where this is headed, but fast forward to a particular tax season. One tax season rolls around, all right? And now, you know, when you're making a lot of money as your own business owner and you're really, really successful, you know, Uncle Sam wants his big cut of that pie, all right? So she was the bookkeeper for the business that they had grown and developed. He was the laborer and he was the one going out there, like, you know, getting the jobs, but she did all the back end office stuff. She did all of the like customer care, customer service, all of the like invoicing, keeping up with all the accounting. She did the payroll for the employees. She would go to the bank and do all the deposits. And, you know, so she did all of the basically like accounting and office work for their incredibly growingly successful business. As it started off really small, keep in mind, they were high school age when they started this, all right? And now fast forward about 10, 12 years, they're making, she never did specify to me exactly how many zeros were in their bank account, but this is what she told me that she did in order to save her marriage. Okay, now I'm about to cry because when I tell you the look in her eye when she recounted this story to me, all right? And I'm gonna tell you what I said to her after she told me what I'm about to share with you, because I was floored. I couldn't believe what she had just told me. But this is why this stuck with me forever. And I wanna know how you would have handled this. Not only from the perspective of if you were, what did I give this woman's name? Did I say Nancy? Yeah, if you were Nancy, if you found yourself in Nancy's shoes, or not only or, but and or if you found yourself in Joe's shoes, okay? Mr. Joe Schmo blowing through all this money. If you found yourself in Joe's shoes, how would you have reacted? I want to know what you would have done if you were Nancy and what you would have done if you were Joe, okay? So let me tell you, I've already told you what Joe was doing. He was getting a little wild and out of control, and he was starting to run around on her and was basically about to be the breakup of their family, okay? Because he was going to leave her with no choice but to, you know, disintegrate their family unit and undo everything that they had spent all their lives building. Keep in mind, all right? Don't forget, they were in junior high when they got together. They were children. She knew nothing else. She grew up with him. And they grew up together, all right? So they had been together a super long time, but they were still very, very young, going through those like growing up, growing pains, trying to find yourself. Keep in mind, by this point, you know, they're like in their mid to late 20s. They're not even 30 yet. They're still young, okay? They're making all this money. He's acting a fool. He's running around on her in sports cars with other women, blowing money right and left, still denying everything to her face, but she knows him, okay? You can't lie to somebody who knows you. It doesn't matter what you're saying. They know you, okay? And so anyway, she knows him. She knows what's happening, and he won't start acting right, and he won't listen to her. So she's at her wit's end, mind you, okay? Tax season comes around, and it's time to pay the taxes. It's time to pay the tax man, and it's time to get started with this really cute eyeshadow palette from Colourpop. So let me take a break in a moment. Let me break a moment into the story to just get into the eyeshadow palette. Now that I've got my eyes primed, this is the Lost in Love eyeshadow palette. This is the Valentine's Day palette that came out from Colourpop last Valentine's Day. I did pick this palette up last year for Valentine's Day, and where's the palette that I got? I also picked up the previous year's Valentine's Day palette. So last year I picked up both of these eyeshadow palettes. I did already do a look and a story time with this eyeshadow palette here. So if you would like to see or hear that, I'll leave that video down below in the description box. But okay, so let me go ahead and open up this palette and take a look at the color story. I haven't even looked at it. I didn't mean to let it sit for a whole year before I used it. I did expect to use it last year before Valentine's Day, but that just didn't work out. It's been a rough year for me. A lot of things that I wanted to do didn't work out. Anyway, okay, so let's look at this cute little palette. Oh, it's so pretty. Look, oh my gosh. I'm so excited to be playing with this fun little color story, and it goes perfectly with today's sweater. Of course, that was not an accident. All right, so I'm gonna get into this eyeshadow palette. Now back to this twist of fate in this love story, and I wanna know what you would have done if you were Nancy and Joe. I wanna hear your side of how you would have handled this from each of their perspective, both the man and the woman. All right. So Nancy's done fed up, okay? She is fed up with her man running around on her, and she doesn't wanna lose her, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. She doesn't want to lose her family, okay? And she don't want to lose her man. She has been with this man since she was 12 years old. She don't want anybody else. She don't know anybody else. She doesn't know what to do, okay? And keep in mind, she's from a small town. They're real humble, real humble, like small town, sweet people, okay? And Uncle Sam has his deadline, okay? She's doing the taxes, and she decides that she is done fed up with her man acting a fool, letting money go to his head, and she decides to put her money where her mouth is. You know, to her, her family and her marriage and her home and her future plans with them and everything was more important than the money that they had built up and the success that they were quote unquote enjoying. He was the only one enjoying it. She wasn't enjoying it. No, she was going through hell, of course, poor woman. Anyway, so it's time to pay Uncle Sam his due diligence. He wants his money, and, you know, she does the taxes. He writes, or no, he didn't write the check. She writes the check to send off to Uncle Sam, like she had for so many years in the past. But this time, what she decided to do, these are the exact words she told me. She said, so when it was time to come, so when time came to pay Uncle Sam, and I had to write the check for what it is that we owed, I might have accidentally added a half dozen extra zeros to the check. And my eyes like fell wide open. My mouth hit the ground. I was like, oh, you did what? She said, yep, I added a whole bunch of extra zeros on that check when I mailed it off to Uncle Sam. And needless to say, my husband was not happy when that check hit the bank account, but it was all gone. We lost everything. I gave everything over to Uncle Sam. She said, we didn't have all that money in the account anymore. And I was just like I asked her a series of questions, and I'm not going to tell you everything that she said because, again, I don't have really the right to be sharing other people's stories. So I'm trying to be as vague as possible and still convey the story and get your take on how you would have handled this if this would have been your life when this happened. She sent off all their money to Uncle Sam, and you may or may not know, but Uncle Sam don't do refunds, okay? I mean, like, they'll refund you what you are owed, quote unquote, on your taxes, but like if you accidentally send in a little too much money, they're not going to send it back to you. They don't like send back money unless they're legally obligated that you're owed that money based off of like they collected too much during the tax season and they have to pay that back. That's the only time that Uncle Sam returns money, okay? So, because I asked her, I was like, well, he didn't try to get it back? Like, he didn't ask for his money back and say, no, we sent too much? I was like, he just like let it go? And she said, oh, no, he tried. He did everything he could. He tried to hire a lawyer to get his money back from the IRS. She said, yeah, things got a little ugly. He was not very happy with me, to say the least. I was just like, are you kidding me? I was like, you couldn't get the money back? She said, nope, all the money was gone. She said, I sent it all to Uncle Sam. She said, I accidentally added a few extra zeros to the check. And when he asked me how, she goes, he didn't say, how on earth did you make a mistake like that? He used more explicit language, she told me. But when he asked me how on earth I managed to make a mistake like that, she told me, she said all she could do was smile, bat her eyes, and say, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Oops. He was livid. But he couldn't even afford to leave her at that point. He couldn't afford to file for divorce. He didn't have no money to pay for an attorney. As a matter of fact, they were concerned how the heck they were going to pay that month's mortgage. So he had to get his little hiney back out there to work. And instead of paying all these workers to be doing the job while he decided not to be working no more, and he was out there running around spending all this time, you know, when he should have been working for their family, he was out gallivanting around, causing all kinds of a ruckus, getting himself into trouble, destroying their family and doing her dirty. He could no longer afford to pay his crew, so he had to go out there and actually do the work himself. He had to go out there and be the laborer again and earn as much money as possible to be able to suddenly have the money to make all these payments on all these toys that he had spent so much money on. Now, granted, they had to file for bankruptcy. He lost a lot of the RVs, the boats, the cars, the extra homes. He had to sell off a lot of his high-end jewelry that he had purchased for himself, the watches, the chains, the whatever else men were into back in those days. It was all gone. Okay, it was all gone. If I remember correctly, they even had to sell their home because they had upgraded their home, and they had to sell their home and get back down into their teeny tiny first little starter home that they had rented out. They had never gotten rid of it, you know, and basically they were starting all over, except they had a lot of years experience under their belt, and they were not newlyweds this time. This time around, old Miss here, she was a pro at this game, and she wasn't going to let him mess around. So she basically didn't allow or encourage him to get the business built up as successfully as he once had. She only allowed him to take enough jobs to pay for their bills and to have just a teeny tiny little bit extra. And she was very happy living a more humble existence, knowing that her man could barely afford the 6-pack of beers that he would come home with on Friday for him to sit his ass at home, not even watching cable TV because they couldn't afford that bill. They had mouths to feed. Yeah, and so I never had the balls myself to directly ask him how he felt about that, but he did walk in one time he did walk in one time during the course of us talking when we were talking about this, and she was telling me, and because he had walked in to get a beer, and I had been sitting at the table eating some of her homemade country and what's it called? I always call it country and dumplings. That's not what it's called. It's a country meal. Chicken and dumplings. That's what it was. It was her homemade chicken and dumplings that was my absolute favorite of her recipes that I would always ask for her to make whenever she had like me requesting what I wanted. Now keep in mind, I wasn't a part of this family. I was just involved with somebody that was a part of this family. And that's all I'm going to leave it at. But yeah, and so when he walked in and heard her telling me about this story, she looked over at him and gave her that like, smile out of him while she was telling me stuff. All he could do was shake his head and smile. And I asked him, I was like, Joe, did this make you mad? Were you upset that she gave away all y'all's money? He goes, yeah, I knew it wasn't an accident. She wasn't dumb. I knew her. I knew as much as she tried to tell me it was by mistake. Boy, I thought this was going to be like a champagne color, and it's like a really bright, beautiful pink. Oh my gosh, I love this shade so much. It's kind of like that shade in Flirty Talk that I like. And honestly, I think these are pigments because I'm feeling really sick. My eyes are starting to kind of hurt. I'm getting a headache and my stomach is hurting. So I'm going to have to go wash this look off right away. But let me just finish the story. He said, yeah, she tried to say that it was an accident and that she was sorry, and he goes, I considered leaving her over it. He was like, but in the end, I had I had to appreciate what it was that she was willing to give up and go through, all in the name of love, to keep her man and to keep her family together. And she just smiled and, you know, got up and served me my my second helping of chicken and dumplings, because she knew I was an eater. Back then I used to eat a whole lot. And yeah, so that was the story of how she almost lost in love, and of what all they lost for love. But yeah, I want to know, what would you have done if you had caught your man running around on you and y'all had all this money that y'all had built up together and stuff? Would you have used that money to file for divorce and leave him and take him to the cleaners and destroy your family and move on? Or would you have sacrificed the money to hang on to your life that you had built, that you hadn't done anything to undo, that all of a sudden was like about to get yanked out from underneath you for nothing that you had done wrong, you know? What would you have done? How would you have handled that? I asked her, you know, because by the point that she was telling me this story, it was already like 7 or 8 years after that had happened in their life. And I asked her, I was like, so now that you've got all this time under your belt after that, you know, because the husband had already gone back out under the driveway to go back to working on the truck or whatever it was that he was doing out there, you know, and stuff like that. He had just come in for a beer and heard that little piece of what it is that we were talking about. And so anyways, we were back in the kitchen by ourselves again, just sitting there talking. And I was just like, I asked her, I said, so now that, you know, you've got all these years later, all this time under your belt, would you have done it again? Would you make the same choice again? Or do you regret having given it all up in the name of love? And she just smiled at me and said, you know, we live with the choices that we make. That's all she told me. She wouldn't tell me if she regretted it or if she was real proud of herself. Yeah, and I never asked the person that I was involved with. Obviously, it was my boyfriend, okay? I don't know why I'm trying to be that vague. Anyway, I'd never asked my boyfriend how he felt about what happened. But after they were like at the point that he was having to rebuild his business and trying to make more money and couldn't afford to pay his crew, that's when he brought his son in to be his helper, because he didn't have to pay. He paid him like a couple bucks per hour, but he didn't really have to pay him, you know, and that way he had twice the work, like twice the work output, and could make more of the money to pay for their bills and stuff. But yeah. That's my story about what it was that she lost in love. Okay, so today I'm going to use the Tower 28 mascara for the very, very first time. And I'm curious to see if this mascara is going to be a love for me. Now, I was never able to pick this up when this was still like all the rage. It was always sold out. And I finally did pick this up during the last Sephora sale. I hope I didn't wait too long to use it. Because I heard recently in somebody's like Shop My Stash or something that these mascaras don't last very long and that they go bad quickly. This one doesn't really smell the best, but it doesn't smell that funky either. So I probably will only get like a week or two out of this before I call it expired, just because it's a clean beauty brand. And that means that there's not preservatives in there to keep the makeup from expiring that quickly. But I just wanted to at least check the mascara out and see how it performs and how it looks on my lashes. I did not curl my lashes at all. And that's why I'm not doing any eyeliner on the top, because I want to just be able to really see what the mascara looks like and see if I like it or what it's doing for me without being distracted by eyeliner. Because eyeliner makes everything look better, if you ask me. Okay, and my son is home today and my husband is on his lunch break also. So if you hear a bunch of ruckus, it's because I did move back into my beauty space, and my beauty room is here more towards like the rest of the rooms. And so I'm closer to all of the family commotion. So that's got both a positive and a negative to it. You know, the negative obviously is that there's going to be more background sound in my videos on occasion. But the positive is that I get to keep up with what's happening more while I'm filming still, which, you know, if you're a mom or a wife, you know that you've got to, if there's too much quiet in the house, someone's up to something no good. And you got to go figure out what's going on, make sure everything's still safe. Hashtag mom life. Okay. So maybe this mascara would have been better if I would have used it when it was new. And it probably would look a lot better if I would have curled my lashes. But again, when I'm first using a mascara for the very, very first time, I like to use it without curling my lashes and see what it does for me without me giving it any help. So anyway, I feel like I would like this mascara for no makeup look days because it's not too dramatic, but it definitely makes my lashes like more visible and they look not overly done, but you can see them. So yeah, I think that I like it more for like the lower lashes than I do the upper lashes right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and before it fully dries, I'm gonna build up this side and see how it is with 2 coats and see how it stacks on itself and if it helps it perform better or what. But I do feel like this formula is a little bit dry. If I remember correctly, I don't remember anybody saying or describing this as a more dry formula. As a matter of fact, I think it was more of a wet formula. Like some people even said it was too wet, if I remember correctly. So I feel like this mascara, I just waited way too long to give it a go. I mean, the last Sephora sale was like a couple of months ago at least. Maybe like 3 or 4 already. So yeah, this probably already is like not at its peak performance. That's quite unfortunate. Thankfully, I got it on sale, but all right. I am willing to try one more, but not until I go through all my other mascaras. I just have too many new mascaras and I should have put this one into the rotation before I put some of the other ones into the rotation is what I should have done but I didn't know that this one expired that quickly until here more recently. So anyway, okay. Now that I've got a good look at the face and the eyes all done, I'm gonna go get my lipstick caddy and we'll pick a lip. Okay, I'm gonna be choosing from one of these cute little MAC lipsticks here that I got from that MAC Gold Tower Holiday Lip Kit that I recently shared with you during my lipstick collection and reorganization video that I did. If you missed that video and you'd like to see more in-depth information about these lipsticks or any of my other lipsticks in my collection, I will link that video down below in the description box. But for right now, I'm just gonna pick one of these shades. Ooh, it might actually be fun to try the purple, even though I didn't actually have any purple in the palette. I feel like this purple, ooh, that's so pretty. I feel like this purple is gonna be very pinky, but let's just try it. Instead of doing more of like an orange lip or a hot pink lip, I'm gonna do this purple lip for fun. Ooh, that's gorgeous. I can see me using this a whole lot in the spring and summer, like just by itself like this. Here is that shade. I do like it, but not so much with this eye look unless I was going to a party. So I'm going to do a little bit of mixing. Let's see what this shade looks like. Let's try it. Let me blot this lip just a little bit. And then I'm going to top it with this one here. Oh, I feel like that shade turned out to be a perfect match for the eye look. So yeah, today's lip combo is, okay. So this is today's lip combo. I really love these cute little lipsticks. I'm so glad I picked up this wardrobe on sale. I was super close to paying full price for it when I saw it because I was afraid that it was going to sell out possibly, but I'm so glad that it didn't. So there's these two lip shades combined to create this lip look. So yeah, it might have been nice to have like a lip liner out to use, but let's see if I have one here in the drawer. I can't remember if I had put them in here or not. No, I don't. Anyway, okay. Do I want to add any kind of a wing at all? I think I want to add just a little bit of a wing on the outer edge. So since I have this here, I'm going to use this brown little Wet n Wild liquid liner, and I'm going to just barely do a little bitty flick right here. Oops. There we go. That just makes me feel more like myself. All right, so let me take my hair down. So here is the finished look for the makeup look of the day. Let me know what you think of how everything turned out. Let me know what you think of this cute little Lost in Love eyeshadow palette from Colourpop. I actually really enjoyed it. Let's see how many shades I used today to create this look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I used 9 shades today to create this look, and I had a lot of fun playing with this palette. So yeah, I'm so glad that I picked it up. Thanks so much for hanging out with me and listening to today's Chatty Get Ready With Me story time. Don't forget to let me know how you would have handled the situation, both if you were Joe Schmo or Miss Fancy Nancy. She actually wasn't very fancy, but yeah, Miss Nancy. So yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with me again. And if you enjoyed today's video, I would really appreciate it if you take a moment to click the like button. It really does help my small channel out so much. And it just puts a smile on my face, and it helps me know whether or not you enjoyed this kind of content, so I can know whether or not to make more or less of it for you. So yeah, click the like button if you enjoyed. And before you go, if you're not already, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. It is absolutely free to subscribe to me, and you can subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below this video. So do that before you go so I can see you in my next video. Bye.